On tonight's Size Eyes on the Skies.
Well, we have just a few things coming up in this week. A light chance of precip coming tomorrow. Cold front moving in on Thursday. That's going to bring some cold temperatures to Iowa. But a nice weekend coming up on Saturday with some rising temperatures after that cold front moves in. I'll have more about that in my forecast later in the show.
And Trey will have the national forecast. All of that and more as we get started here on this Tuesday, February 11th edition of Size Eyes on the Skies right now.
Live from Studio 171 in Ames, Iowa, the Iowa State Meteorology Department team of meteorologists brings you the latest weather from around the country and out your front door. Iowa State's longest running television program and the only live weather broadcast on campus starts right now. This is Size Eyes on the Skies.
Well, welcome back to Size Eyes. I'm now joined by Jackson. Jackson, you're only doing half the show today, huh?
I know. Last time I decided to cover a couple shows, but it wasn't necessarily my best, so I decided just to keep it to one, plus Trey, excellent meteorologist over here, so he can definitely cover what's going on around the nation
I guess
today.
we're bumping up the budget a little bit. Kind of cold out there.
It is a little cold, but I mean, 32 degrees is about what we were seeing today for most of the day, which isn't too bad. So I actually downgraded from my heavy winter coat to my light winter coat, keeping things a little bit warmer.
Ooh, almost. Maybe almost time for a vest.
It might be almost vest season.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Well, that's the time of year I like.
Well, yeah, as we were saying, temperatures right now, we're seeing 29 degrees in Ames. As you look over to the west, though, we do see 36 degrees in Sioux City and 34 degrees in Council Bluffs. So just a little bit warmer as you go to that west side, and a little bit cooler over here with 19 in Decorah, 20 in Dubuque. But temperatures are definitely going to take a nosedive as we go into Thursday this week. I'll have a little bit more about that later on. But looking at these next 6 hours, we're really not seeing too much. You know, clear skies overnight. We do have a little bit of clouds to our southeast and northwest, but that's not really impacting us right now. I'll have a little bit more about that later in my full forecast.
And now it's time for tonight's weather story. On this day in 1983, the Middle Atlantic coast states and southern New England were in the midst of a major snowstorm. In Pennsylvania, the storm dropped 21 inches at Philadelphia and 25 at Allentown, setting record 24-hour totals and single storm totals in both of these locations. New York City received 22 inches, and Glengarry stumbled into 35 inches in the Blue Ridge Mountains of West Virginia. The storm resulted in 46 deaths, 31 of which occurred when a freighter capsized and sank off the coast of Maryland and Virginia. Heavy snow was reported from northeastern Georgia all the way up to eastern Maine. And now, here's Trey with a look at what's going on around the country.
Well, Kevin, we don't have any big snows like that right now, but we have seen some pretty big rains, especially down to the southeast. Here's a look at temperatures across the nation this evening. You can see much colder up across the Great Lakes, but notice here where we have the warmer air coming up from the south and then that colder air coming in from the north, we have a frontal boundary in that region producing a lot of rain. I'll talk more about that here in just right after the break.
Welcome back. And now here's Trey with a look at what's going on around the nation.
We've been in an active pattern across much of the nation for the last several days and even leading up to tonight's forecast right now. So earlier I showed you a look at the temperatures. You can see much of the nation in a pretty deep chill right now, and it's going to even get colder for our locations up across the Midwest. You can see down here to the south, though, that's where we have a lot more warmer, milder air, and that is leading to a lot of heavy rain and thunderstorms. I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment. Let's take a look at the watches and warnings that we have going on, and this just kind of reflects how active of a pattern that we are in right now. So you can see back across portions of New Mexico, leading up into portions of Texas and Oklahoma, extending up into the mid-Mississippi River Valley. That is where we have a winter weather advisory. That is where we're going to see accumulating snow over the next 24 to 36 hours. And then as I step out of the way here down to the south and east, notice here from portions of East Texas back up through the mid-south and then to the Ohio River Valley, that big expanse of green, those are counties that are under a flash flood watch, and that is due to multiple rounds of heavy rain. And you can see some of the darker or the brighter green showing up here. That represents where we have flood warnings in effect. So flooding is a really big issue as we head down to the south. Here's a look at some of the observed rainfall totals that we have seen since Monday. You can see Jackson, Mississippi coming in with 2.02 inches, and the big winner here down south, Tuscaloosa, Alabama at 5.65 inches. And you can see just widespread areas of 2 to 5 inches of rain, several reports of flooding, and a lot of small stream and river flooding as well. So you'll want to be mindful of that if you have travel plans down to the south. Don't try to cross any of those flooded roadways. Here's a look at the national satellite and radar picture this evening. You can see it is still raining from portions of central Texas all the way east into the deep south through portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. This is going to be our system that we're going to have to watch for tomorrow, and that's going to move off to the east and eventually produce more heavy rain and thunderstorms where we don't necessarily need it. The northern end of that system, where it begins to interact with some of the colder air, will produce quite a bit of heavy snow. So you can see heavy rain again extending from basically along the I-20 corridor east from Dallas to Atlanta, and we're going to continue to watch that as we head into the evening and overnight hours. So here's a look at that severe weather outlook for tomorrow. You can see this is from the Storm Prediction Center, a marginal risk here in the green shading and then a slight risk here in the yellow. And you can see that does include places from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, up through Jackson, Birmingham, Huntsville, and into southern Tennessee. And that is where we could see, again, damaging winds look to be the main threat right now, with a line of thunderstorms that will be moving through, and a couple of tornadoes will be possible with that as well. So here's a look at the upper atmosphere. We're going to be watching this deep upper level trough coming through the desert southwest, and that will be the system to produce all that heavy rain and storms across the deep south. Notice up here to the north, though, where we have these colder, these lower heights, that represents where we have a lot more colder air that will be coming in from the Arctic, bringing very cold readings to the Midwest. Jackson will talk about that here in just a moment. And you can see as we step through time here, notice how that trough continues to move off towards the east, and you can see this these deep lower readings coming in from the north, indicating that we will have a very cold Thursday morning, and that will continue to move off towards the east. And you can see here that troughing pattern remains in place, and then a little bit of a ridge starting to build in from the desert southwest. And you can see by Thursday still kind of holding in with that same pattern. Here's a look at the futurecast. Watch for rain spread through portions of the deep south, really getting into Texas overnight tonight and into Wednesday morning. Now we're watching our system coming up from the north, that snow band that you see from Montana back through the Great Lakes. That represents the leading edge of our cold front. That will continue to push to the south as we head into Wednesday. You can see, look at all this snow here on the northern end of this system, all the way up through Chicago. And then we're going to see that system clear out. It's going to be very cold behind that. And then we'll see drying conditions as we head into this weekend. Forecast highs for tomorrow, you can see most of the nation looking pretty good, especially down to the south, but you can clearly see that deep chill coming in from the north, where you see those pinks. That's representing where we have highs in the single digits. Here's a look at my select city forecast. This is for Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You can see we're going to start out pretty warm tomorrow, but then look what happens as we head into Thursday. Temperatures falling down into the teens, and then we'll continue to stay cold into the later part of this week, and then warming up as we head into early next week.
Now for tonight's trivia question. What is the record for a snowfall in a single storm, which was recorded at Mount Shasta, California in February 1959? Was it A, 189 inches, 103 inches, 76 inches, or D, 138 inches? And we'll have that answer in just a second for you. But first, let's have a look at the week ahead with my friend, the joyful Jazzy Jackson.
Thanks, Kevin. As Trey kind of alluded here, we have quite some cold temperatures over in the Midwest right now, 33 in Des Moines, and that kind of actually surprisingly gets a little bit warmer as you move to the northwest, and a little bit colder as you move to the east, 31 in Chicago, just a little bit cooler than Des Moines. I'll have a little bit more about our temperatures coming into the state later in my forecast. Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Jackson Garlock. So as I said earlier, if you guys were tuning in, there's a light chance of precipitation tomorrow, a cold front moving in, that'll move in on Thursday, and a nice weekend temperatures moving in towards this Saturday and Sunday. So let's take a look at why that's kind of happening. Temperatures right now sitting at 29 degrees, not too bad for February. Temperatures once again a little bit warmer as you move over to the west, 36 degrees in Sioux City, and a little bit cooler as you're in the east right now, but that'll tend to change over the next few days. So taking a look at that wind chill, just keeping things a little bit cooler than you saw in the last on the last graph of those temperatures, but you can see Ames right now 23 degrees, Des Moines 26, so really not too bad for those February temperatures. And that's mainly because we've had some of the not too bad of wind speeds moving in, only 7 miles an hour here in Ames, 7 miles an hour in Des Moines, and that's kind of synonymous around the state right now, just kind of keeping the winds died down a little bit, and those winds, of course, are coming from the south, so they're kind of keeping things a little bit warmer. Of course, that is going to take a turn later in our forecast, as you'll see, because of this this trough and ridge pattern that I think Trey was talking about in his forecast earlier. Is kind of bringing these cool Arctic temperatures down, just barely escaping into Iowa as the system moves along. But that will propagate over to the east and bring some warmer temperatures later on. Right now you can see it's pretty clear over the next 6 hours with not too much going on. Some clouds to our southeast and some clouds to our northwest. Just kind of keeping things real clear around Iowa and not bringing too much weather to us at the moment. Futurecast will say over the next few days that it will be mainly just a little bit of clouds coming here on Wednesday, and that'll kind of move on a couple more cloudy days as we move through Friday. It's going to be clear. Saturday is going to be clear. Until we move into Sunday, we see another big cloudy day, and that's actually going to bring some precipitation coming in on Monday. We're going to be really trying to figure out if we have snow here or some rain showers. With this line generally sitting here, this pink is going to really bring some of those mixed precipitation. So that could make the roads very icy, slushy. So it's going to be a really hard day to drive around on Monday, especially at that noon time when people are kind of out and about. Looking over at our forecast for tonight, it's not too bad, 23 degrees and only winds out of the southwest for 5 to 10 miles an hour. Really not too bad for those of you who are out and about tonight. And as we look over to tomorrow, we have some snow showers kind of coming down, but it will be nice and warm at 37 degrees. So as the temperatures around that 32-degree line, you might see some snow. It might change to rain as the day progresses, but it's really not going to be too bad tomorrow either, with just some nice west-southwest winds at 10 miles an hour. Looking over at our extended forecast for Ames, you can see on Wednesday we have that 60% chance of snow, but the real issue this week is going to be on Thursday, 3 degrees, and that's not even with the wind chill, so expect a very cold day that day, maybe even some late school cancellations for those schools around here in Ames. Friday we see 22, and then that warm up on Saturday and Sunday, 40 degrees on Saturday and 41 on Sunday, which I love to see because I'm really hoping for that early spring, which we do seem to be having right now. As Monday will kind of plummet down, we might see some snow showers, about 40% chance there, 38 degrees, and then on Tuesday it will slightly cool down to 28 degrees, but we're definitely looking at early spring this year.
Well, now you've had some time to mull it all over, we'll take a look at this trivia question one more time. And that is, what is the record for snowfall in a single storm, which was recorded at Mount Shasta, California in February of 1959? Was it 189 inches, 103 inches, 76, or 138 inches? What's your guess, Trey?
Wow, that's a really interesting question there. They get some pretty heavy snow from time to time, so I'm going to guess D.
You're going to guess D? Jackson, you got to take a stab at it?
I'd probably say B.
You'd say B?
I don't think it's going to be quite as high as A seems to say it is, but I think it's a little bit more than that 79-inch range.
Well, the correct answer, actually, and my snowblower can't handle this one, it's A, 189 inches from one single storm out there in California. I don't have a shovel that could do that well.
I don't think that happened here.
Yeah, and I don't think that many people, I mean, I'm sure it was near the mountains over there in California, but typically you don't think of California as the main place where they drop snow, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, elevation really plays a role in that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is for sure. My back is not envious of those folks out that way.
Oh, for sure.
189 inches, single storm.
Yeah, we don't have to shovel that in Texas for sure. We've never gotten anything like that.
That's unbelievable. My dad would send me out there in a heartbeat.
Oh, wow.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's show. So please be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can find every show here on our YouTube channel under our Size Eyes page. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on Thursday.